The purpose of memory, Marina, is not just to remind ourselves of the past, but to extract out of it past lessons that we can use to structure the future. That's the purpose of memory. Otherwise, it'll forever be in the past, you see. But what can we learn out of it? And so I'm going to read page 5. I have your permission because the book's out in the market, okay? It's already out there. When I look back at those days as an adult, a striking fact hits me, and it hit me too. As a child, it had not occurred to me that most of the top civil servants who were our neighbors were non-Malays, something that would be rare these days. I was friends with the children of the Wongs, the Ongs, the Foos, the Nayagams, the Richies, the Sodis, the Sidus, and the Vergises, because they all went to school with me. All were the offspring of my parents, friends, and colleagues, with little thought of our differences at all. We went to each other's parties and festive occasions without fussing over whether, like today, we needed to worry about the food served or not. Our streets were safe enough that we could walk to each other's homes and would always be welcomed. Now, when I read that, I paused. I looked out through the window and I started to sing this song by Peter, Paul, and Mary, where have all the flowers gone? Yeah, long time passing. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? And when I sang that, I was thinking of this garden outside in Jalan Maxwell. It's like a rose garden. Remember Lynn Anderson, I beg your pardon, I never promised you a rose garden. And
yeah.
If your gardener, Pak Hashim, was still around, the pains he took to cultivate that jewel in the crown that he talked about, your own garden, I feel that we have lost that whole garden of beautiful roses of different shades, different people. I can remember growing up in that area. My dad was an engineer, and I can still remember my neighbors. There was a family called Rasaya who had 11 children. And in that garden down there, there was a durian tree. And every time the durian fell at night, there will be there'll be a sound, So all of us will run out thinking we'll get the durian. And that guy, one of his 11 children, would have already taken it. So we have these pleasant memories. But, Marina, when you look back at this rose garden with different colors, that is truly Malaysia, isn't it? Where we can just go into each other's homes and celebrate without fussing around. And today, when I think of that paragraph, how the creepers and the thorns and the weeds have come into this garden. I want your thoughts on that paragraph, because it was very personal and I could feel it. And you and I are in a stage in life where we miss those moments. What's happened?
Well, I think that was really to show one of the big differences between that time and now, that, I lived in this sort of civil servant enclave in Alustar, and everybody was a different race. I mean, there was such a thing as a chief education officer who's Chinese. There were 2 Mr. Ongs and then a Mr. Nayagam. I remember them very well because, of course, I knew their children, and I'm still friends with them, by the way. I think, it doesn't happen anymore partly because there are not that many non-Malays now in the civil service. If there were, I don't know how far up they would get. There's still a few, I think, in a very technical type of, in Ministry of Trade and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was an innocent time, I think. And a great time. And it's a pity that for most Malaysians, they're not seeing this anymore. And it goes back to schools, and my schools are diverse,
Absolutely, yeah.
I went to a convent school, of course, so that kind of filters out some people, filters out Malays, for instance, because they're all worried about going to a convent school. But it meant that I grew up with a whole bunch of very different girls, and I'm still friends with them. We still have a WhatsApp group going. there are Malay girls in there, and we all find that we haven't changed very much in our attitudes. And to me, I think the richness of that diversity is so important, because you get different experiences and you also learn how to be accepting of differences and to accommodate that, because that's part of life. If you accommodate someone else's particular specific whatever, then they will do it for you as well. And I mean, I never fussed about going to a friend's house, a non-Muslim friend's house, for a party, because they would know already what to do, right? And if they and they tell me, you can have this one, you can have that one. I said, that's fine, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to starve after all.
Yeah.
And anyway, as a little kid, you're just more interested in playing, right? And birthday cake more than anything else. And it's really it's too bad that for a large part of Malaysians nowadays, they're kind of living in silos. I'm lucky in that I really have a diversity of friends. I have two best friends. One is Chinese and one is Indian. I mean, we are the epitome of Muhibah. And we've been friends for a long time. We go off on retreats together, that sort of thing. And we're so used to this. And I nowadays, actually, talking about diversity, the modern diversity, I'm having friends over to the house, and one of them messaged me and said, Marina, I have to tell you that I'm vegan. And like, oh, what?
Yeah, right.
But you accommodate.
Of course.
Because you want them to feel comfortable at home. You want them to be able to eat something.
Yeah.
So you prepare at least one or two dishes that are vegan so that they can eat it.
Yeah.
And that's what you do,
This is the essence of fellowship. This is the meaning of togetherness. And I can tell you one thing.
Really,
and we have lost it. I mean, I've been a doctor for 40 years, of course, a fixed mindset as a doctor. But having said that, when I was in Johor Bahru, I mean, I had the Jacobs over and we used to jam with our guitars, and all the Sikhs will come and the fellow will bring his chapati with his mutton. Those were the days, those were days, my friends.
But what I'm trying to say that I don't think it's completely gone. I don't think it's completely gone. I think it's still there. I think among ordinary people, it's still there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not highlighted enough. And I think it's just been overtaken by the bad news all the time. The cases where people are being, oh, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that,
Yeah.
Rather than the times when people actually do accept and have, the differences and enjoy it.
Yeah. I hear you, because the weeds and, either it's politics or religion or what has come into this beautiful garden that you could see along Jalan Maxwell. All of us grew up in that. And that's the worry, or that's the thing that a lot of people now have got so insensitive to it. They've got, thickened, by all that is going on, that they just live their own life. They couldn't care.